You are listening live to the Vito and Vito Show.
Disrespectful to the executive branch.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Don't sign the damn deal, and the president won't.
Therefore, I do not believe that the majority can vote a man's life or property or freedom away from him.
And we are live here on the Vito and Vito Show. I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito.
And you're listening to the Vito and Vito Show live from the basement of the Empire State Building. Check us out at www.vitoandvito.com for network listings. Go ahead, give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. And allow me to let my co-host explain just what the hell you're listening to right now.
Bringing you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservative libertarians out of liberal hellhole Brooklyn, New York. We're committed to defending the principles of free markets, freedom, liberty, and individualism.
I'm an Ayn Rand lover.
And I'm a Reagan devotee.
As you can see, we got a little something here on the program for everybody. And now, being that we're college-age conservatives.
Or just overgrown buffoons.
That's right. We're going to go ahead and have some fun.
Which is some sex jokes.
That's right. Lots of sex jokes tonight. Lots of sex jokes.
If you're looking for political correctness, guys, you've come to the wrong show, definitely. We're going to see a few things off color, but that's just who we are.
Forget about it. That's who we are. No holds barred here on the show.
We're not going to quote the Bible, but we are going to quote Atlas Shrugged and some Playboy.
That's right. We still subscribe to Playboy here on the program.
Head over to vitoandvito.com for more information on network listings, past episodes, and our newest articles.
Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
Vito, what's on the agenda for tonight?
We have coming on the program to join us to talk about the Confederate flag and some race relations is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Elveda King.
That's right. She's going to be great. Member of the NAACP, so we're going to go ahead and ask her what she feels about this whole issue. First of all, in South Carolina, terrible tragedy.
Absolutely.
In all seriousness, a terrible tragedy what happened this past week. So our hearts and sympathies go out to the families involved. But we're definitely going to talk about how this became politicized. We're going to talk about the liberal hellstorm about the Confederate flag, and now Gone with the Wind is on the chopping block.
Can you believe that?
The PC police are out in full force, and they're taking no holds barred and no prisoners. Listen, we also have... What's the second topic?
We were in Philadelphia over the weekend.
Oh, that's why we're here. That's right. To talk about Philadelphia. RhinoCon.
Yes, the Northeast Republican Leadership Conference.
Otherwise known as RhinoCon.
Yep. Every rhino imaginable.
That's right. The superstars, such as George Pataki. George ate my tack. I don't know. It was a joke there, but that went nowhere. Carl Rover Bendover was there. That's fine.
The RNC with Reince Priebus.
Hey, Reince Priebus was there, and he was talking about data and collecting this and doing this and moving on. And
Lindsey Graham was going to be there.
He was going to be there. Lindsey Graham was going to talk and give us an interview, but he, because of what happened in South Carolina, he canceled the trip. So we get that, But it's going to be interesting to go ahead and talk about RhinoCon and talk about how Jeb Bush should be the nominee. We spoke to a lot of people on the ground, a lot of people who hold party position and leadership, spots in their local parties at this conference, and a lot of them were coming out and saying the same thing. We got to elect someone who can win. And I said, well, Ted Cruz is on the ballot. Does that mean he could win? And they said no. I go, well, explain to me what a winning candidate is. And they said someone that's electable. I go, well, if you're on the ballot, are you electable? You know what? Even if you're not on the ballot, you can still write your name in. So that means anybody's electable. But we really break it down, and we shape-shift this debate.
We'll dive into that a little later. And also, SCOTUS care. The new word for Obamacare. The Supreme Court decision came out today. And we're going to tell you how they don't make sense. Because according to quote by Scalia, words don't have meaning
I know.
anymore.
Antonin Scalia, the guy is on fire.
I like him.
Totally agree with him here. Totally agree. You can't sit here and tell me that the Supreme Court was correct in its decision today. If you believe in the Constitution, they were in no way, shape, or form correct. No way, shape, or form. They completely drove over the Constitution. They found ways to get around it. They tried to find ways to hide underneath the law. They tried to find ways. It was basically the Supreme Court giving us why Obamacare is a good thing. Not if it was constitutional or not. And this is in regards to the state exchanges, the federal exchange that was set up with Obamacare. A lot of unconstitutional issues arise out of that. So, definitely Vito and Vito. talking about that. Listen, Alveda King, we're going to give her a call right now. We're going to go to a little quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go ahead and play the Alveda King interview when we return here.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it. War. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is War. We are America Radio.
We may be surrounded. We may be outnumbered. We may be outgunned. But we'll never, ever stop the fight. Not while we're behind enemy lines. On We Are America Radio. Wednesday night at 10 p.m. War.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save
your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
You are listening to War Radio. This is where we assassinate liberal lies with documented facts and obliterate moderate Republicans who want to join their side. We are America Radio.
Here, having some technical difficulties trying to get Alveda King on the line. But in the meantime, as we try to work that out with our technical people, that means me, Vito's going to go ahead here and run down the Charleston shooting, Vito. You know, it's a terrible tragedy it would happen. But can't you see how terrible the left is? I mean, you want to talk about the party that doesn't have a heart? You want to talk about the side that really doesn't care about people at all? It's the left. I mean, they are politicizing an event like this for their own political gain in ways that really are, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
I mean, first it was the whole, is it a terrorist attack, that whole controversy and debate. That quickly switched to, once the pictures came out of Roof, Dylan Roof, was who shot the church up. But he was pictured with the Confederate flag, and he was even pictured burning the American flag.
Yeah.
But what got people was, well, he had a Confederate flag, so he was obviously a racist, and that's why he shot up the place. But they're connecting the racism to the Confederate flag.
Okay.
Which is a stereotype connected to this.
Let's take it down like this. You say the racism, the Confederate flag. Let's take it to the beginning of what actually happened. Here's some crazy nut in the middle of South Carolina whose internet, was feeding this guy some crazy stuff. Crazy, like, racism, and he was reading, like, I think, Hitler and stuff. He was going crazy. The guy's absolutely insane. He's a psychopath. Guy gets inspired to pick up a gun and go on a rampage against black people, says he wants to start a race war.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this guy was racist, but he was a nut. He was a psychopath. So if you're a leftist listening to this program, answer me this. How the hell does this relate to South Carolina being a, quote, racist state, the Confederate flag, the abolishment of Gone with the Wind? How does this relate to a cultural issue? This guy was crazy. Yes, racism exists in our society, and unfortunately, it still exists today. But we're talking about a nut here, a crazy, crazy nut.
Mm-hmm. And the
not a right wing or left wing, just a nut who's a psychopath who used race as a means of basically jumping up.
The left goes crazy when you say that this person was a sicko, that he was a sick man. Because why do you always blame that?
That's right. Listen, we have a line right now. Alveda King, let's welcome her to the program. How are you, Miss King?
How are you?
It's great to have you on here, the Vito and Vito Show. How are you?
And hello to you, listeners. Thank you for this wonderful invitation to join the show tonight. It's just an honor to do it. South Carolina, Charleston is amazing because the people are saying that they forgive. It doesn't mean that Mr. Roof doesn't have to go to jail, pay the penalties and all that. It was a very heinous thing. His intention was, of course, he said, to start a race war. But God had other intentions. So what Mr. Roof intended for evil, God brought some beautiful good out of it. Reverend Pinckney, for example, is so amazing, and I won't say was. I believe he's in heaven now with my dad, A.D. King, my uncle, Martin Luther King, Uncle M.L., A.D., Daddy King, Mama King, who was also shot in church by an African-American gunman in 1974 while playing the organ on Sunday morning, the prelude, the Lord's Prayer. So it's amazing that South Carolina, under the leadership of pastors like Reverend Pinckney, Senator Pinckney, of course, the governor, who says that we have to repent, have to forgive, have to give ourselves permission to grieve and be healed. That, to me, is amazing. Now, you're interviewing me, but can I ask you what's your take?
Oh, sure. I mean, I see this as a terrible tragedy. I see this as somebody who's a nut, a crazy guy, who's using racist means and all things like this to start a race war, to get publicity, and at the same time bring down a community. This is a terrible tragedy. But I don't know if this is evidence of a whole racist culture in the society that the left is saying.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I live in Georgia, and in Atlanta, one of our symbols is the phoenix rising up out of the ashes. So what can we learn here? In the midst of hatred, love can prevail. I mean, I really do believe that because I was taught that by Daddy, Uncle M.L., Granddaddy, Big Mama. And that's the King family legacy, which you can read about in my book, King Rules, by the way. But you're right, it is a tragedy, but there's triumph in this tragedy. And I'm asking people to see both parts of that. You know, I saw something today that said all eyes are on the Supreme Court. I said, no, my eyes are on God. They're not on the Supreme Court. So we have to see the whole picture, see the tragedy, but see the triumph rising up out of it.
Well, Dr. King, the whole controversy started recently of the Confederate flag. What's your take? Should the Confederate flag be taken down from the Capitol?
Absolutely, the flags should come down all over America. They are relics, and they should be relegated to history, museums and places like that. But the main thing that we have to do, because I see that the governor in South Carolina, she said that it's going to take it down from in front of the Capitol, but if someone wants to fly it in their home, in their yard or something. So we have to look at the pain and the passion that will cause somebody to still want to fly that flag and to hold on to something from a very painful time. But, you know, two examples come to mind. My mother was stung by a bee many years ago. She put it in the yard because it hurt her. It was terrible. And in a jar, and she keeps it in her house in alcohol. So the bee is pretty much still intact. It's just embalmed. And then some people, when they lose their teeth, unless they believe in the tooth fairy or whatever, but they keep the tooth in a jar. So you remember the pain of the loss of the tooth, of the sting of the bee, but then you also, when that tooth is removed, then the new tooth comes. So out of pain, sometimes to grow, you have to put away childish things, and then you have to go forth and grow up. So in the growing process, it's releasing something that still means something. But, you know, history, and they're not accurately teaching history in the schoolroom. So a lot of people don't even understand the whole meaning of the Confederate flag.
Well, that's a great point. And I heard that a lot is we're not teaching our kids, and we're college students. You don't get this in college. You don't get this in elementary school, high school, whatever. You're not getting an education about what the Confederacy is about.
No. And so here
and
you
go ahead.
Like young Mr. Roof, 21, is ready to kill people over something that he probably didn't even have a full understanding about, you know? So that's
I never thought of it like that.
So you're a college student. Oh, wow.
Yes.
And one of my favorites, because you're still brilliant thinkers. Your minds still work very well. I'm 64 years old.
I don't know. So. I don't know about the other Vito, but I think my mind's doing all right.
Oh, goodness.
But, Doctor, I got to ask you this, and we'll wrap up our interview with a quick question here.
Okay.
What do you make of it now? Because, we're coming at this from the right perspective, from a Republican, conservative, libertarian perspective.
And I'm a Republican.
What do you make?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're all on the same page here. What do you make of it that President Obama and the left are basically looking to create a big political correctness bubble? They want to take off Gone with the Wind because some movie critic from the New York Times the other day said that it was remnants of slavery. They're looking to completely wipe off everything. Rush Limbaugh said he wants to... The American flag is next if the left gets their way. Do you think we're really heading down this slippery slope?
Not really, because I'm telling you, God is honestly bigger than the devil. But if you don't remember your history and if you don't learn it properly, you're doomed to repeat it. And so we need to just insist that the truth be told, not half the truth. And that's in the Bible, too. In the Old Testament, it says only half, even the half wasn't told. And then there's in Galatians 4:8, have I become your enemy because I'm telling you the truth. So we need to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But we can't be self-righteous from the right either. Self-righteous, we know everything, we're holy and righteous, and everybody else is evil and going to hell. That one won't work either. We have to meet now and tell the truth in transparency, repent where we were wrong. You heard me say I've had abortions, I repent. My divorces, I repent. A lot of other things I've done, I repent. So we have to repent, forgive, be gracious towards each other, love each other, and move forward. And if we can model that from the conservative right, if we can really model that, I think we'll make more friends, because, the real way that you win friends and influence people is being honest and transparent and showing what real transformation looks like.
Dr. Alveda King, where can we follow you on Twitter and on social media?
At Alveda King and also at Alveda C. King. There are two Twitter accounts. I manage both of them. Everybody says they're not both me. They are. And also you can find me on Facebook at Alveda King. You can find me on Instagram. And nobody else but me deals with my Instagram right now, actually. I do have some interns that help with the other social media, but that's really me. It's not somebody making it up. And if I get a like on there, I really meant it. One day I did like something, and I kept reading the next one, and the person was cussing, so I had to unlike it. I apologize for that. But I liked what they were saying. It was just the profanity that was a little too strong for me. I used to curse too, but I try not to do it anymore. So I had to back up on that a little bit. But I do answer my own social media, and I have a book, KINGRULESBOOK.com, and you can find my book there.
Dr. Alveda King, we wash Vito's mouth out with soap here on the show.
Good, my
because he does have a dirty mouth.
Make sure you do.
We do what we have to do.
My mother did do that to me. I promise she did. Okay.
You see?
I love you. This was a great invitation. I'm honored at 64 years of age that you think I'm relevant enough to talk to. That means a lot to me. So thank you. Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alveda King. Thank you. She does great work, and we want to... God bless you, too. Thanks for coming on the program. Dr. Alveda King, she was great. She does great work. She does great work, for the conservative movement. Like I say, I think there's a place for Christian conservatives. We got to come together, and she definitely stands for free market individualism and stuff like that. And you know what? She has a great take on this. Maybe because we have such a terrible school system in this country, maybe that's why this guy shot up the school, because the church. Because he doesn't understand the philosophical components of the Confederacy, the philosophical components of why the South broke away from the Union, the Confederacy, the Union. There's a lot more here. And I thought she hit it well. Dr. Alveda King, listen, we're going to break. When we return, Karla Rove and the GOP establishment yell, only Jeb can win at the Northeast Republican Leadership Conference this past week in Philadelphia. Vito and I took a trip down there to feed some of the rhinos, and while we were petting Chris Christie, Vito lost his arm.
It's true.
That's right. Vito and I break down just what RhinoCon was all about this past week, and you're not going to believe some of what these leaders, quote leaders, gave us in terms of answers when we asked them just where the grassroots fits in their victory strategy for 2016.
If you're a conservative, this is going to piss you off.
This is going to piss you off. Listen up, Vito and Vito. Don't go anywhere. Forget About It segment and Twitter Fan of the Week. We'll be back after this.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ReadyPA.org, brought to you by ReadyPA, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
And we're back here on the Vito and Vito Show. Head over to www.vitoandvito.com for network listings. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. Naked pictures to be found there of Vito DiGiovanni. Vito, we went to RhinoCon this past week over in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia.
The Northeast Republican Leadership Conference.
Northeast Republican Leadership Conference. I call it RhinoCon because I thought it was one of the worst conferences this party could ever put together. And I don't mean that in terms of like the food or the service. I mean, they were really nice people.
That lemonade there was amazing.
Oh, yeah. I forgot the hotel we stayed at, but shout out to them. That was amazing lemonade.
Sheridan.
Was it the Sheridan?
Sheridan.
Some sherry at the Sheridan?
Yeah. You shay?
You shay?
You shay?
That's our James Bond impersonation. But we stood at the Sheridan, and it was great. We were with Gene Birdelli from Behind Enemy Lines every Wednesdays at 10 on We Are America Radio. And you can check out his website, BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us.
Mm-hmm.
It was great, hanging out with you guys, but that was me trying to be nice. I couldn't take it. Me and Vito shared a bed, and it was not very
romantic. All right, we're going to talk about the conference, actually.
Vito wears no pants when he sleeps. It was fantastic.
Listen, pre-show ritual. But aside from all the Rhino speakers, everyone walking around.
Well, who was there? Let's break that down first. Chris Christie spoke. Not Jeb Bush. George Pataki, former governor of New York, running for president. Chris Christie is about to run next week. He's announcing. Who else did you have there?
Scott Walker showed up.
Scott Walker. I don't know if I would consider him full Rhino, but he's definitely, not as...
He's around there.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at immigration and stuff.
I believe Rick Santorum stopped by. A lot of people, because there was also a Rhodes majority in Washington, D.C., so a lot of guys stopped by, spoke, and immediately left.
I mean, you saw a lot of guys. Reince Priebus was there, by the way, and we have an interview with Ralphie Williams, Deputy Press Secretary of the RNC. Great guy. We're going to play it for you in a couple of weeks. When we were talking, having a conversation with him, and we were like, where is it that the grassroots fit? Because we're grassroots guys showing up at this conference. Everyone's in suits and expensive silk ties. Me and Vito rolling out of bed with ketchup stains on our backs and, other stains on other places. And we're walking around, and we're like, well, we're grassroots guys. Where do we fit into the 2016 strategy? Where are we in regards to your victory plan? And, Rafi gave us some pretty all right answers. And, he was definitely... He says the grassroots hold all the power. That's a quote from the interview. Reince Priebus said that the GOP, this is where they gotta... this is where we gotta reach out to not just millennial voters and this voter, but our base. All right, good point. Karla Rove was there, and he had a breakfast where, nobody was allowed unless you had, a certain ticket. I mean, it was very pretentious.
Chris Christie had a luncheon.
Yeah. I mean, shocking, isn't it? No, yeah, right.
By request.
Chris Christie had the luncheon. Nobody else ate.
Yeah, we couldn't.
Chris Christie had the luncheon, but nobody else could eat.
You're
with
so
him.
mean.
What?
You're mean. You're terrible.
They had to let Christie come in through the side entrance, through the service door. They're like, beep, beep.
You ever see Willy Wonka when, what's the name, Violet blows up? Mm-hmm. Why they got a roller?
Yeah. Who wants it now? I could see him Chris Christie, I want your sandwich now. I could see that happening. But, when we were asking all these people, where is it that the grassroots fits into your strategy? Where in your and then there were local party leaders there as well, and state party leaders, and we were asking them, where does the grassroots fit in your local elections and your state elections? And a lot of them gave us some BS answers. A lot of this came up to, they came up with the line that the GOP, they gotta, those grassroots guys gotta fall in line. They gotta fall in line. And I'm saying to myself, and I said it to them, and I said, what do you mean fall in line? Look, I'm from Brooklyn, pal. We don't exactly fall anywhere. We choose where we want to go. We don't fall in line with the crowd. And that's the thing about conservatives and grassroots libertarians and Tea Party people and whatever the hell grassroots right-wing people are in America, people who like individualism, free markets, and stuff like that. We don't fall in line with these stupid candidates. We pick who we want to pick based on our principles and based on those people and what they're willing to do for this country.
You might have seen on Twitter, we were challenging people, anyone walking by, to tell us why, who they like for president for 2016 and why. All these people were supporting Jeb Bush, and they couldn't. Number one, nobody would come on live with us. Nobody would join us on air.
But we do have some quotes here. Somebody said Jeb Bush is the only one that's electable. Somebody else said that Jeb Bush is the guy for 2016. He's the most charismatic. I said, listen, pal, this guy's got as much personality as a wet mop. Somebody said that he's not even... then they blasted Ted Cruz. Somebody said Ted Cruz isn't even American. I said, you're an idiot.
They go with the same line that Democrats use.
This is a great one here. Some rhino said, if Jeb Bush doesn't get the nomination, I'm voting Democrat.
Okay.
I said, wow. And my favorite one out of all of this, you extremists in the party are the people who are causing Democrats to win. That's the sentiment I got. Those are quotes we got from people. That's the back and forth that we had. Vito, it was complete BS.
Right, because we caused the Democrats to win. Remember the last two elections?
Yeah, exactly. Go back. Keep going back. Go back to Bob Dole. Go back to Gerald Ford. Go back. You keep going. And you're going to find, ladies and gentlemen, that if the grassroots base of the GOP doesn't sign on board with the candidate, that candidate is not winning an election. They're going to have a hard time in the primary, and they're going to fail in the general election. When George H.W. Bush ran for re-election and lost, 19% of his base, who are conservatives, self-identify, went over to Ross Perot. They voted for a third party. A third party. He didn't lock up his base. He was way too busy compromising with Democrats on taxation. Read my lips. And he was compromising principles and values that Reagan ushered into the new Republican Party. And the base didn't take it. They walked away. The same thing happened in 2008. The same thing happened in 2012. And I find it remarkable. Every year we go through the same crap that the RNC and the Republican whatever committee seeks to win the nomination without conservatives.
So, if Jeb Bush, God forbid, gets the nomination, who are you voting for?
Oh, see, this was a conversation that we had, and this was a fierce debate. Me, you, and Gene Baradelli from Behind Enemy Lines were debating this one night down in Philly, and we were talking about this. And I'm not voting for Jeb. I'm not voting for Hillary, because this is how I look at it. Look, and this is where my premise starts with. It's not that I'm a Republican. No, I'm not a Republican. I can care less about the Republican Party. I can care less about an elephant. I'm an individual. And as a result of that, that means I hold myself as the higher standard of value. I believe in free markets. I believe in capitalism. I don't believe in cronyism, export-import banks, a Supreme Court that railroads, unconstitutional laws through judicial activism, or Federal Reserve banks and stuff like that. I'm a free market capitalist.
So you're not voting for Jeb?
I'm not voting for Jeb. I'm not voting for Hillary. Because voting for Jeb Bush means I'm voting for a crony capitalist. But voting for Hillary means I'm voting for a socialist. Why the hell should we bend over for the crony capitalist?
So by not voting for either one, you are allowing Hillary to win the presidency.
Here's the deal. Do you consider socialism and crony capitalism as bad things?
Yes.
Okay, so why would you elect both of them into those offices? I'm voting third party if the case. I'll write myself in. I can care less.
Right.
I'm not sacrificing my principles.
Regardless of who you vote for, any third party or whoever you write in, that non-vote for the Republican nominee is going to help Hillary win 2016. So yeah, I get crony capitalism is bad and socialism is much worse. But I know you hate this question, but which would you rather have?
I would rather have none. How about that, pal? I would
Me
rather
too.
have none. Good. So you know what? How about we stand up as a base of this party and stop bending over for the GOP establishment? Because that's all I got at this conference. That's all I got was people telling me and you and all conservatives out there listening that we have to take it. We have to take the bad medicine because there's going to be a next election another time around where we get to pick who we want. There's going to be another primary that we could debate in. And look, the conservative movement's got its own problems. We should, we should back one candidate, either a Cruz or a Paul. We should get behind one candidate like we did with Reagan, and fight hard to get him in office. But I'm telling you right now, if you expect to have my vote merely by party affiliation, those days are long gone. The new conservatives of this party, the new right, are not taking this anymore. And I think that's the great thing about the Tea
But this
Party.
conservative battle is in the primary.
Yeah.
What if we lose that battle?
If you lose the primary, I don't see why I have to lose my principles.
You don't lose your principles.
That's a quote right there. If we lose the primary, why do we have to sacrifice our principles? It don't make any sense. I'm not voting for a Democrat light. I'm voting for a conservative Republican. And if the GOP doesn't want to get on board and actually listen to what I have to say, they don't deserve my vote. That's where this starts. It doesn't mean that they get to pick and choose votes and numbers.
It's either your conservative pick or Hillary.
My conservative pick or Hillary. Why?
So it's not Cruz or Rand if they don't get the nomination.
So let me get this straight. So you're going to go ahead and vote for Jeb Bush. So you would walk around and say, I voted for Jeb Bush. Oh, look at me. I'm such a great Republican. You're the problem, pal.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are, because you're basically telling the GOP, it's okay, I don't care who you run. I don't care what the establishment backs. I don't care what money gets behind Jeb Bush. It's okay. I'll still vote for you. You know what you are, and I hate, and no offense, I don't really take this out on you. I don't mean to.
I was going to warn you that I didn't say anything yet, so whatever you're saying is based off of assumptions.
But people believe this. Would you rather vote for the Republican or the Democrat? And I say it doesn't, this is BS. This is a ridiculous argument. If the Republican Party would listen to me, and listen to the grassroots concerns, then maybe I would go ahead and vote Republican. Consistently to the point where I'm like, yes, this is what I want. But Democrats across the board are nothing but communists. And Republicans need to turn around and stop playing up the special interest. Grassroots guys are now turning into a libertarian culture. We don't want to see this anymore. The same political BS. So if you're voting for Jeb Bush, you're basically saying, it's okay. Have your way with me, I'm still going to come back to you. It's like a husband who beats his wife. That's how I look at it. The GOP establishment and all the bigwigs and the elitists are slapping us in the face. And we keep going back because we keep falling for the same trick and the same premise that if we don't vote Republican, we're going to get a Democrat. And you know what, pal? This is the time in the country, this is where people choose. Either we start to make a change or we start to stay where we are.
Right, but would you rather get beat and have a chance to change things or get killed?
We've been trying to change things. That stupid line, or would you rather have a chance? Listen, we've been trying this till Cold War.
All right, so we'll
because we tried it with
try
Ford.
to get the conservative in, and if, God forbid, that does not work, Hillary's in. Okay, next election. What if it's Bernie Sanders who gets the nominee? A full-out socialist. You tell me?
So I tell you what.
So
first of all, Bernie Sanders will not win across the board because regular people, moderates, whatever you want to call them, are going to be like this guy's extreme. It's just not going to happen.
All right, so then it's Hillary. We're going to stick with the more moderate socialist.
Well, because that's how she's going to come across. She's going to come across as a moderate. Would you rather have Hillary or Jeb? Well, if I want to see change, I'm not gonna elect Jeb because Jeb is going to keep things the same. If I want to see.
He makes things a little better.
Yeah, like what? Like what? Do you think he's going to repeal Obamacare? You think he's going to get rid of the Export-Import Bank? You think he's going to go ahead and audit the Federal Reserve? You think he's going to go ahead and get tax cuts across the board? No, he won't.
But can you say that Hillary will make things 10 times worse?
Hillary would make... Of course she would make things 10 times worse.
So would you rather things stay how it is or get 10 times worse?
I would rather have neither. I would rather fight for what I believe in and stop voting for this nonsense.
But what if that doesn't happen?
You know what? So then maybe we need to organize behind somebody else. Maybe we just need to. Because, you know what, if this is what the premise of the Northeast Republican Leadership Conference is, it's either Jeb or Hillary. They're accepting the premise that the Republican Party is the default party for America. Like, it is the party that they could run anybody they want, and Americans are still going to vote for them. Or rather, Republicans are still going to vote for them. Let me rephrase that. The grassroots, those dumb grassroots voters, those dumb conservatives out there, they're still going to go ahead and vote us and our way because we're in charge. We tell you what to do. We crack the whip. You like to be cracked, pal? Listen, we were talking about racism. I'm no slave to the Republican Party. You don't tell me who I vote for. I vote for who I want to vote for. And I'm telling you right now, the conservative movement needs to do one thing, and that is organize themselves around one candidate. And this nonsense that Donald Trump is running and Ben Carson and this guy and that guy and this guy. Look, I got no problem with a lot of these people personally, but honestly, they cannot all be running for president. Ronald Reagan was the lone conservative, honestly, in his race in 1980, and look what he accomplished. Both times, in 1980 and 1984. And look what he gave Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush. He gave him the keys to the White House because he ran on the Reagan platform.
So you're saying that in 2008, no conservative got won, right? So
you had McCain and Obama.
Right. So so the GOP we lost. So the conservatives supposed to say, look, GOP, why don't you listen to us? Okay, so you can win an election. Doesn't listen in 2008, 2012 comes around, they do it again. What, third time's a charm?
And when I say, well, that's up to the GOP, and when I say the GOP not supporting grassroots guys, I mean, Cruz is ousted. The media attacks him. Those on the right who are supposedly right-leaning attack Ted Cruz and conservatives. You have lobbyists who fight up against conservatives and libertarians. There is no room for a third party in this country. Big money interests all support either Jeb or Hillary. None of them are going to support Sanders, and none of them are going to support Cruz. Because they are ideologues, they believe in philosophies, they have principles, things of that nature. We could disagree on principles. I certainly don't agree with Bernie Sanders. But at least the man holds principles that he believes in. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren. They're not going to sell out to those interests. The same thing with Cruz and Paul and the rest of them on the right. But right now, big money corporate interests like Atlas Shrugged, they love to play in the middle, baby. They love to play in the middle. But what do you do when those who believe in the principles that guide a country begin to turn their back on the political institutions that put them there? That's where you start to see Atlas Shrugged. That's where you start to see the complete change in a society. I mean, other countries can have these great revolutions. Greece can elect a radical communist party. Why can't we elect somebody on the right to scale back the size of this government? And every time we put forth a plan to either cut trillions of dollars or to abolish programs or abolish department agencies that are considered useless, we get attacked. We get attacked by those in our own party, and we're called extreme, like Peter King and the rest of those fools.
But your idea of not voting in Jeb, then allowing the GOP to take this hit and have Hillary win in 2016, then that is a massive blow to the United States.
No, because that goes to show you that
4 years of Hillary?
I don't belong to the Republican Party. I belong to myself.
But still, that's going to be a massive blow with Hillary in the White House.
Is it really going to be a massive blow?
Really? You don't think it's going to be all right?
You mean to tell me that Jeb Bush is going to be okay?
Better than Hillary.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Jeb Bush is better than Hillary Clinton.
Jeb Bush is Hillary.
Do you think Hillary is better than Obama?
Is Hillary better than...
Who's worse?
All Democrats suck. It doesn't matter. I'm not going on a rank. They all suck. They're all terrible for the country.
So taking the hit, allowing Hillary to go into the White House
because Jeb Bush is practically a Democrat, pal. He's practically a Democrat. He increased spending by 47%
and Hillary's practically a socialist.
Good. So how about you start voting third party? Start voting. Start organizing. We got to start doing something in this party. Look, we got to go to break, Vito.
I want to go to break.
But we got to. I'm telling you now. You cannot sit here and keep falling in line. By that logic, you're a sheep for the Republican Party.
There's going to be a terrible choice, and something that we don't like is going to happen.
Yeah.
So before we get to that point, the conservatives should wake up, and we should get behind one candidate, because we've seen that method work before.
That's right.
One candidate.
So let's do it. Let's do it. Listen, we could talk about this. This is going to be a great segment on the show, but I'm not falling in line for anybody. Listen up. Coming up after this, my favorite part of the show.
The end?
No, Vito. Forget about it. Moments of the week. Plus Twitter fan right here on the Vito and Vito show when we return.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, and son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
And we're back. Into the Vito and Vito Show. Check out the website, www.vitoandvito.com. For network listings, go ahead, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. Again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, social media, naked pictures of Vito. It's all there at Vito and Vito Show. And check out vitoandvito.com for where you can hear the show and our live articles, our news articles and opinions that we write. Again, www.vitoandvito.com. Vito, it's that time of the week again. It's that time of the week again.
Forget about it.
Paul, forget about it. Forget about it, moments of the week, Vito. This is where we break down the top 3 craziest moments in politics, and we say, oh my God, did that really just happen? And then I tell you, oh yes it did, baby. Forget about it. What do you got, Vito?
Vito, a high school graduation in Northern Virginia. Mm-hmm. They went around to ask a few simple questions like, what year did the United States gain independence from Britain? Mm-hmm. The correct answer was 1776.
Okay.
And no student could answer this. No high school graduation student could answer that simple question.
Dumbass. Dumbasses.
We're talking about Vita King, about the schooling system?
Yeah.
Jesus. H. Christ. Very simple history questions.
That's unbelievable, man. That is unbelievable. And what do these people say again?
Like 1701.
17...
Like, what year did the United States gain independence from Britain? Mm-hmm. Like, 1701? Mm-hmm. Like, what? Mm-hmm. What?
Yep, this is what we call, dumbasses. Some of these people are going to go ahead and, like, become doctors or
justices of the United States Supreme Court.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We'll get into
and
that.
Then look at that mess that you have right there. Number 2.
Fox came out with a poll of 600 Muslims in the United States. Mm-hmm. The question was, should American Muslims, should they have the choice to be governed by Sharia law? 51% said yes.
Wow.
Also, is violence against Americans justified by nationwide international jihad? Mm-hmm. 25% said yes.
Really? 25% said it's okay to use force to enforce jihad?
Violence, yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What does that go to show you, ladies? Such a religion of peace. Such a small minority. When a quarter of those surveyed agree that you could use force.
And that's just 600
Sharia
Muslims.
law.
Just 600 in the United States.
Wow. That's dangerous.
Islam is also the second largest religion in the world.
Yeah, what's the first?
Christianity.
You know what's the real first?
What?
Objectivism.
It's not a religion.
Philosophy of Ayn Rand.
You're sick.
I'm crazy. Number 3.
The Supreme Court of the United States.
Oh, I can't believe this. Go ahead.
Self-explanatory.
Yep.
They came out with the decision on Obamacare with the
federal subsidies.
Yes,
federal exchanges.
Yes.
Excuse me.
6-3 was the decision.
Right.
With the only dissenting opinion was Scalia, Thomas, and Alito.
That's right. Remember, there is the challenge here was: is it constitutional to have federal exchanges, a federal exchange set up? So that for people in states that didn't enroll in state exchanges. So if like Texas, for example, didn't set up a state exchange for Obamacare, that the people can now use a federal exchange. Well, the issue raised here was, doesn't this trump the 10th Amendment? Doesn't this trump over states' rights? Where does the federal government have this power? And this sort of breaks something.
In the 35,000-page bill of Obamacare,
yeah,
it says that it has to be set up through the state, not the federal government. Mm-hmm. So, healthcare.gov, the government website, if you sign up through there, it's not supposed to. It's ineligible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole issue.
Yeah.
And some of the quotes coming out from the decision is just a little ridiculous. You got the majority opinion?
No, I didn't. I didn't take a look at it. Do you have it? Well, you have a segment of it?
Yes, because Scalia was dissenting opinion going against the majority. He said this was ridiculous. He said the interpretation is not merely unnatural, it's unheard of. Because the majority ruled that what Congress intended. So they did not look at this objectively, what the Supreme Court was supposed to do. They did not do their job. They played politics. And Scalia went off on a rant about this. He was pissed. So was I. So many conservatives around there. That the Supreme Court completely just, they did not do their job. They went with what Congress said they wanted. Okay, they were saying that the word "the state" in the bill was ambiguous. The majority opinion said...
Well, when they say the state, I think they're talking about in the philosophical context of the state. Like the government. Which government?
Right.
You dumbass. I mean, we have a federalist system in this country. There's many different levels of government.
When you take out the state, when you take it out of context of the bill, it's ambiguous. So we're just going to define what Congress meant by this in the bill? That doesn't make sense. That is not the job of the Supreme Court.
Well, Scalia talks about this in his dissent. He says the court holds that when the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act says exchange established by the state, it means exchange established by the state or the federal government. That is, of course, quite absurd, and the court's 21-page explanation make it no less so. Antonin Scalia. 21 pages to explain that the state and the federal government are the same thing. What? What the... You know, Democrats wrote this law. Let's remember this, ladies and gentlemen. It was Democrats who wrote this. And if you want to see just where the Democratic Party lies today, go ahead and take a look at what the federal government, the state government means to the Democratic Party. Because apparently today it tells us just how radical the left is. Just how radical the Affordable Care Act is. Just how crazy the, quote, Unaffordable Care Act is. Leftists don't care about the Constitution, and they don't care about what states' rights are. They don't care about federalism. They don't care about the principles that made America. So when Giuliani says that President Obama doesn't love America, he's 100% right. Because conservatives love this country. They stand for those principles, unlike the Democrats. And the Affordable Care Act's explanation of what today is, that basically tells us where the Democratic Party stands.
Roberts quoted, he said, the context and structure of the act compel us to depart from what would otherwise be the most natural reading of the pertinent statutory phrase. So
break that down for me in English, Vito, because I got no time to.
Right, because you're going to be a lawyer, right?
No. I'm going to be a famous adult star. Adult film star. Vito Torpedo.
The context and structure of the act, so how the act is structured and built,
right.
You know, the thousands of pages, made the Supreme Court not read it objectively.
Yeah, well, I mean...
So it made them not do their job.
Yep.
So however we were instructed, because we have to pass the bill before we can read it, made the Supreme Court say, you know, we're going to look at this a different way. Not the way we're supposed to, not what we're supposed to read and, allow, say, what is constitutional. Because this was fairly simple. Scalia saw this very black and white. I don't know what everybody else saw. But in the bill it says you have to set up through the state exchanges.
Yep.
So when they say, well, the state, it kind of says, what is the state?
The state is defined in the law as the federal government or the state government. What? Where'd that ambiguity come from? What is the state?
We do have 50 states. Yeah. So when, even Gruber who said this in the architecture
Goober.
Obamacare. I can't even talk.
I know.
You said Americans are stupid.
You do this for a living.
Yeah, I talk.
Yeah, you can't even get that right there, pal.
The teleprompter was skipping.
That's it. All right, Barack, come on. The teleprompter.
They even said this is through the state exchanges, through each 50 states. That's why when the states sign up, you get the federal tax subsidies. That's how it's supposed to. That's how it works usually.
Isn't it?
But Roberts in the Supreme Court majority was saying, well, if the state doesn't do it, you can still sign them through the federal government because that's also the state. So you still get the subsidies.
You see what sucks here? It's that Democrats just straight out lie. They straight out lie. They lied to blue dog Democrats, quote, moderate Democrats, to Nancy Pelosi did at least, to get the bill passed. They lied about the Hyde Amendment. They lied about this amendment. They said that, you know, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan, right? We know all this stuff. This whole act, this, quote, great accomplishment of President Barack Obama was done in the most, cunning, sly way that only a filthy pig would go ahead and get things done like this. That's right. I call the president a filthy pig because the way him and his Democratic cohorts got together and passed this legislation is just how a pig would do something. Dirty, rolling in mud, hiding around the truth, bulldozing its way through, complete disregard of the rules, and doing it's animalistic, it's disgusting. And if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you're an American, and you value law and order and the Constitution and what this country is supposed to protect, individual rights, the Democratic Party does not protect nothing. They don't protect you. And if you don't exist, you're giving yourself over to Big Brother, baby. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. That's how scary the Democratic Party is today.
When the Supreme Court said that if you take out the state of the bill, when you remove those words from the bill, then it's ambiguous. Mm-hmm. When you take it out of context. Well, don't you think things are going to be more ambiguous and don't make sense if you take it out of context? Mm-hmm. If you take clips of different segments from anywhere, things don't make sense if you just jump into a conversation. Obviously, certain things aren't going to make sense. You miss the whole thing. That's why you're supposed to read the 2,000 page long bill. So things can make sense.
Right.
Does that make sense?
You know what scares me? Somebody one day is going to find these shows, and they're going to take us out of context, okay? And we're going to get in so much trouble. I'm telling you now, pal.
Dude, look, Vito came out of the closet like 37 times.
Look at this. Vito re-identifies as an independent black woman. Like, oh, man, we're in so much trouble. Like, we were putting ourselves out on the line.
I can't wait.
But it goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, just how dangerous the Democratic Party is. It just goes to show you just how radical this party has become. My favorite line, this is not your father's Democratic Party. Vito!
You too.
Twitter fan of the week, who do you got?
At Shirley Stop IRS.
I love that name. Mm-hmm. Say it again.
Shirley Stop IRS.
Give her a follow. She's our Twitter fan of the week. Congrats, sweetheart. Sweetie pear. Sweetie pie. I don't know.
Pear? What?
Sweetie pear?
What?
Darling. You want to have some fun? Let's play a game.
Sure.
You want to play a game? Oh. Here we go. Here on the Vito and Vito Show, our newest thing. At the end of each show, we're going to play a little game. Bum-ba-da-bum. Who has more plastic, a Barbie doll or Nancy Pelosi? Vito, go.
Nancy Pelosi.
Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations. You want to play another game?
Okay.
All right. It's like over 90 degrees outside. Which can fry on the sidewalk quicker, an egg or Nancy Pelosi?
I'll say Nancy Pelosi on a hot Washington day.
There you go. That's why she's, that's why she's surrounded by so many people, because they got to block the sun.
Like Michael Jackson.
Hey, Michael Jackson died a couple of years ago today. I'm not so sure the exact. 6 days? 6 years ago?
6 years.
6 years ago, Michael Jackson died. Rest in peace, brother. I like Michael. And for all those out there who say he was a pedophile, you're wrong. He was he was proven not to be a pedophile. And we here on the show
he just had his own amusement
Michael.
Park. Don't be jealous.
That's right. Vito has his own amusement park. And
Shimon.
That's right. Vito, what's this little thing? This hole here you have
my
in the
slide.
wall. That's your slide. You got a hole in the wall and a slide that leads to... Oh, my God. I knew you were into that stuff there, Vito. We're going to record the show, and I want all of you to see just the sick things that we do here. It's bizarre. It's
that
bizarre.
hole behind you is waist high.
Yeah.
Watch your back.
That's right. Ow! Something got in my eye. Listen, Vito. It's that time. It's that time again.
And now...
the end is near.
We don't plan on singing at the same time.
No, we don't. That just about wraps up this disaster of the Vito and Vito Show. Again, head over to www.vitoandvito.com for more information on network listings, past episodes, and our newest article.
From the Anal Ward of the Empire State Building. That's right, because we can't afford the first floor. The Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.